Browsing Steam NextFest is a bit like trick-or-treating in a new neighborhood. You can never quite be certain which games will offer you a full-sized candy bar sort of experience, and which will amount to an expired bag of unsalted pretzels. Luckily, Second Wind is here to help you separate the starbursts from the milk duds, and add some promising upcoming games to your wish lists.
Ruby Knight is a boss rush action game set in a dark fantasy world with gruesomely detailed pixel art visuals. The demo serves as a nice introduction to the plot, showing a kingdom overrun by cruel demons and a young princess saved from the slaughter by a masked hero. You take control of that princess, Ruby, whose special eyes allow her to kill the unkillable by peering at their blood crystal core and cutting it out. It's an intriguing story justification for the really cool combat mechanic Ruby Knight boasts, where you must narrow your field of view during fights and maintain focus on the enemy in order to mark them. Stacking marks will cause huge damage, but taking hits will remove all marks, making battles a satisfying risk versus reward dynamic. The art and animations are also fantastic, and gameplay is quick and tense. Ruby Knight's demo lets you take on 2 bosses and meet some of the supporting cast, and all of it left me chomping at the bit for more. So like Ruby herself, I'll be keeping a keen eye on this one.
I've been looking forward to Skate Story from developer Sam Eng and publisher Devolver Digital since the moment it was announced, and I am so happy to say that finally getting hands-on with the demo has not only met my expectations in every single way, but completely shattered them. The writing hits a sweet spot between the arcadey action of Tony Hawk and the more sim-like nature of the early Skate games. But what makes this one shine is its impossibly stylish take on hell that feels like a mix between Alice in Wonderland, a soothing vaporwave nightmare, and one of those 6-hour-long YouTube deep dives on Gnosticism that you stumble across at 2 a.m. I know vibes aren't really a quantifiable metric, but Skate Story might have both the best and the most vibes of any game I've played in a long time. You learn new tricks from these obsidian obelisks. You complete missions that involve bringing a can of Arizona iced tea to the floating head of a hipster philosopher statue. And you can kickflip so hard that the moon splits in half. Hell yeah. I am counting down the milliseconds until Skate Story hits PC, PS5, and Switch 2 on December 8th.
Winter Burrow is a cozy woodland survival game developed by Pine Creek Games and published by Noodle Cake. You play as a mouse who has returned to their now dilapidated childhood home, and your mission is to brave the winter wilderness to restore the burrow to its former adorable glory. You explore a snowy landscape, gather resources, engage in combat, craft tools and equipment, and customize your house. The demo itself was simple, but gave me a decent idea of what to expect from the full game. Accessible, low-stakes survival crafting in a charming storybook setting, making it a great option for players who find other survival games too daunting, from either a mechanical or a thematic standpoint. The one thing that left me genuinely confused was how both the Steam page and the publisher's website emphasized the plot point of finding your missing aunt, and solving the mystery of what happened to her. And meanwhile, she's basically your next-door neighbor and is findable within the demo's first few minutes. Even if the game's story turns out to be nothing to write home about, I'm still looking forward to more mousy adventures when Winter Burrow releases for PC and Xbox on November 12th.
Homura Hime is a mostly solo-developed third-person spectacle fighter that I first got a chance to check out at PAX West last year. That small play session featuring a short tutorial and a boss fight left a strong impression with its fast combat and bright anime visuals. This new NextFest demo has a new tutorial, an entirely early stage, and a new boss fight, but actually left me a bit worried. Movement somehow feels more stiff than I remember, with awkward platforming and boring empty level design. Mob combat was also on the clunky and shallow side, with a finicky lock-on and generally unimpressive enemy designs. With only a few light and heavy combos on top of a handful of special moves on cooldowns, things were feeling pretty bland, until a mini boss encounter. All of a sudden, the Homura Hime I remembered was on display. Having a single, powerful enemy to focus movement around, making use of a quick parry, dodging projectiles, and finding openings to unleash a barrage of attacks instantly pulled me back in. Homura Hime does boss encounters right, and it may be struggling to build a larger game around that strength. So I'm hoping the game can sharpen its focus on what it does well and maybe leave behind what it doesn't.
If you're a fan of the mechanics, tone, or both aspects of the Paper Mario / Mario & Luigi games, then you need to pay attention to Escape from Ever After. This delightfully charming turn-based RPG is set in a world where a greedy megacorp uses characters from fairy tales as a form of cheap labor, and it's up to you and your party to stop them. The demo chapter has you chasing down Sherlock Holmes, who's gone missing inside the world of Lovecraft's The Shadow over Innsmouth. The gameplay has everything you'd expect from those Mario-based inspirations. Combat has an emphasis on timed button presses that help you dish out more and take less damage. There are overworld puzzles that require the use of your party's skills, such as this dragon who can light a torch, or a wolf bard who can play songs that make plants grow. And the writing is constantly on point, such as when this rude-ass bird refused to serve me a drink. The combat's engaging, the characters are charming, and I am excited to see what other royalty-free worlds and scenarios pepper our journey when Escape from Ever After releases in Q1 2026 on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch.
The Seance of Blake Manor, a supernatural detective mystery developed by Spooky Doorway and published by Raw Fury, first came to my attention thanks to this year's Ludonarracon selection. I discussed it briefly in my wishlist video from July and have been looking forward to getting some hands-on time with the game ever since. I'm happy to report that the NextFest demo did not disappoint, though my detective skills certainly did, as I failed to uncover any suspicious activity on my first attempt and managed to get evicted from the manor during my second. As Detective Declan Ward, the player investigates the disappearance of a woman named Evelyn Dean by scrutinizing objects in the environment and speaking to potential witnesses to gather evidence and formulate leads. Each interaction advances the clock, usually by 1 minute, so there's a relatively fine line between making sure you've obtained as much pertinent information as possible and wasting too much of your precious time checking out jack-o'-lanterns and snooping through everyone's private mail just because you can. The time mechanic adds just the right amount of urgency to otherwise methodical gameplay, and I can't wait to see how the overarching mystery unfolds when the full game is released for PC on October 27th, just in time for Halloween.
Thunder Spikes Volleyball is admittedly not much to look at, but this 2D side-on volleyball sim hides an incredibly complex recreation of the sport that gives you simultaneous control of your entire squad. Rather than switching between the players on your team, button presses are contextual based on what phase of a volley you're currently in. When defending, you can make your entire front line jump to try and block an assault, while at the same time, position a backline defender to dig up a spike attempt. While attacking, you can go for devastating spikes yourself, feint with extra jumping attackers, or have your setter immediately dump the ball to the opponent's side. Most of the skills are timing based. It takes some getting used to make sense of the complicated full team control, but once it clicks, you get an extremely engrossing facsimile of the game of volleyball. The demo provides a tutorial, but in its current unfinished state, it leaves out a bunch of little tricks that expand on the gameplay greatly, like using different kinds of serves or chasing down wild returns. Once the full experience is done, I can easily see a gameplay loop I'd lose hours to, especially in matches against friends.
We hope you enjoyed this little NextFest demo variety pack, but if we missed any of your personal favorites, please let us know in the comments below. May your wish lists overflow with future treats and your Halloween be frightfully delightful.